Hey everyone! Today is one of these adulting videos that gets sprinkled into my channel every so often here and there. We're going to talk a little bit about some tips that I have for first-time home buyers. This video isn't meant to walk you through every single step of the home buying process. This is assuming that you're kind of ready to enter the process of looking for your first home, and these are just some tips that I think people forget about when they're going through that process. Back in 2015, my partner and I bought our first home. I was 22 at the time, and I want to put a curb to any assumptions that you guys might have. I've seen some comments in the past of people saying that I don't have the ability to speak to this because I had the advantage of having a partner who purchased with me, therefore minimizing my ability to purchase a home. I'd actually been planning to purchase my own home for 6 months prior to that, so I was 110% prepared to be taking on that financial responsibility on my own. It was only a few months before we purchased that my partner decided that he was ready and wanted to purchase as well. And yes, it is a lot easier to purchase a home when you have two incomes pooled into one, and it made sense for us at the time, so we went ahead and did that. So our first home was a condo in Toronto, and it was a little bit different than buying a house, but I also have experience in buying a house because just a few months ago, my partner and I also purchased our very first house. So that was at the end of 2020. And to be 100% clear, because these assumptions always come up and it just like disgusts me that people constantly feel that women always have to have a provider. My fiance and I split both the cost of our condo and our house 50-50, 100% all the way through. Okay, I hate that I felt like I had to justify myself, but now that we're past that, I want to share with you guys the tips that I've come across when it comes to purchasing your first home. My first tip is to make sure that you will not go house poor. House poor is when you buy a property that you can technically afford or got an approval for, however, you're actually bleeding all of your money every single month into your home, leaving you no money to be doing anything else or enjoying your life otherwise. What is the point in owning a home if you can't enjoy your life on a day-to-day basis? So to figure this out, obviously you need to be getting your pre-approval, but once you get your pre-approval, don't go off just that. Do your own budgeting. Mock up a monthly budget for yourself so that you can see the cash flow that comes in every single month, all the expenses that go along with owning a home, and then seeing the amount that you're left over with and making sure that you do have an amount that you're left over with. I love Excel, so I create my budgeting sheets in Excel. Your budget needs to be taking into account your monthly mortgage payments if you were to be getting a mortgage based on your approved amount, your utilities, any car expenses, insurance expenses, property taxes, maintenance costs, eating, cell phone, any existing debts you might have, etc, etc, etc. I personally love Excel, so I have a whole Excel spreadsheet that shows my monthly cash flows from month to month to month. I've actually been toying around with the idea of coming up with a template that I can share with you guys. I'm just not 100% there yet on how I kind of want to execute on that, but let me know if you guys would be interested in that and maybe some other helpful financial budgeting templates. So then what I do with my monthly budget is I make a bunch of different scenarios of what it would look like if I was borrowing at different price levels. So just because you are approved for a certain amount of a mortgage, it doesn't mean that you should necessarily max that out completely, because you could end up in a situation where your monthly cash flow is just so tight that you'll be struggling. Both times that we bought our home, we never used our max approval mortgage amount. We were always a little bit below it, and we would actually only look at properties within a certain amount of the financing that we would get and not even the max amount at all. So that goes into my second point, is to manage your expectations and be ready for rejection. So once you figure out your budget that you're comfortable with, I would start looking online so you can get an idea of what you would be getting. But don't be looking at things that are priced right at your budget, because it's probably going to go over. I don't know if that's going to be true for every location, but I know here in Toronto and Ottawa and a lot of parts across Canada, a lot of places are going for up to 100K over asking. So my bet is to always look at places that are 50K to 100K under your comfortable budget. So let me just recap this since we've dialed it down. So let's say you got your max approval for $600,000 and you know that your down payment amount you're committing is $200K. So you might be thinking, okay, I can afford a $800,000 home, and I'm gonna start looking at houses for that. No, no, no. So with $800K, I would say, you know what, I might not wanna max out my mortgage based on my monthly budgeting plans. I would only wanna get a mortgage for $500K rather than $600K, which is my max, so I'm taking $100K off. So then the value of the home should be $700K, but because in my area, everything is going for over asking, and you want to be a bit conservative because there are other things that come up. I would maybe take away 50 to 100K. So then I would be looking at places that are listed around $600 to $650,000. Once you have that number figured out, start pulling up all these listings in that budget range and start to look at what they look like. Are they fixer-upper types? How many bedrooms? How old are these houses? Because you need to get an idea of what you can expect with the budget that you have available, and then decide whether you're okay with that, or hey, maybe, you know, I want to save my money and not buy a house at this time because I'm not getting what I'm looking for with the budget I have available at this moment in time. Once you've come to terms with your expectations, you have to be ready also for rejection. And a lot of people say that the home buying process is very emotionally tolling, frustrating, it's stressful, and it can be those things, but it can also not be those things if you prepare yourself and your mindset for that. You're probably not going to get the first house that you put a bid on. You're probably not going to get the first house that you look at. Things are going to go just everywhere like this because you can't predict what other people are going to be doing in the market. And all you can do every single time is to put your best foot forward in what you feel comfortable with and then cross your fingers that it works out. And I really believe in the home buying process. Do not do anything that you're not comfortable with. Like, don't push your budget outside of your comfort zone, or don't force anything, because the right one will come to you eventually. You do not want to look back and regret what you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. I went through many frustrating experiences in both buying my condo and buying my house, both of which were really, really hot markets at the time that I was purchasing. Like, I would see a listing, go see it like the next day, and basically have to put in an offer the same day. Otherwise, someone else would have taken it. So like, I basically had to make a life decision of dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars within 2 hours of seeing a place. Like, those are the types of decisions that you have to make. For both my condo and my house, actually, we were in the same situation where the sellers were like, hey, you are up against one other person. Each of you have to give me your best offer, and then I'm making the decision. With my condo, we actually won it by offering slightly under the asking price, actually. But with this house, we won it by going about 30K over asking. But these were two completely separate times where the market was very different from each other. So you're just gonna have to figure out what the market is like when you're purchasing your house, and find the strategies from there with your realtor. Speaking of realtors, my third tip is to actually interview a few realtors before you commit to one. I think a lot of people have the pressure of like going with someone they know, a friend, a family member, or like if they reach out to a realtor, they have to use them right away. It's not like that. You need to make the choice that's best for you and what you feel comfortable with. It is a huge purchase, and you want to feel good about it, and you want to feel good about the person that's helping you get to this purchase. So the first time around, we actually used a family friend, and we felt really good because this family were all realtors, so we felt really secure about our situation for them to guide us through our first purchase. We knew that they were looking out for our best interest, so yeah, we went with them. The second time around, I actually interviewed 3 different realtors. I mean, I would have used our previous one except for he's in Toronto and he does Toronto stuff, so I need to find someone in Ottawa. Some of the questions I asked them were what areas they were most familiar working in, what type of clients they typically work with, whether it's first-time home buyers or renters or people that are refinancing looking for their second home. I asked them when they're typically available to do viewings, because you want to make sure you have someone that is able to do the same schedule as you. I asked how many clients they currently have, because I didn't want someone who was so busy that they weren't going to be able to be flexible with my schedule. I also kind of gave them like a little mini assignment to see how they would respond. So I did see a listing that was like right under our budget, and I had gave them the hypothetical scenario of knowing if this was my budget and this was slightly under my budget, based on your experience, do you think that it's worth us trying to go in on? And I wanted to see what their responses were, what their strategies were, and what their follow-up was. Like, some of them right after getting off the phone with me messaged me 10 minutes later and was like, hey, I did a quick look up on the property, here's like the information. Then I could see like the commitment they would kind of give us in working with us. So don't be afraid to interview a few people. I just reached out to some that I found and were like, hey, like, I would love to chat with you to see if you would be the right fit to help me purchase my home. The last tip that I have for today is to prepare for closing costs. This came and hit me on the side of the face the first time around. I had this lump sum of money ready for my down payment and did not have a separate lump sum of money to put down on the closing date of my home. Closing costs can be anywhere from 1 to 5% of your total home value, which is a huge chunk of money that a lot of people aren't prepared for or do not foresee. A lot of people obviously know they have their like down payment ready, and then they have their mortgage mortgage lined up, and then all of a sudden you need to take out an extra like 10 plus K to drop just a few days before you get possession of your house. And it's not common for people to be rolling that into their mortgage because it's needed immediately at that point in time right away. It includes like lawyer fees, land transfer taxes, or deposits that actually come like within 24 to 48 hours after your bid gets accepted by a realtor. So that could be a few $1,000s like within a day after you put in your offer and it gets accepted. So I would just roughly calculate based on the value of the houses that you're looking at, how much your closing costs might be, and make sure that you're putting that amount aside as well. I feel like that one gets a lot of people shook. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys found this useful. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other questions. Hit me up on Instagram as well, and I'll try my best to guide you in the right direction based on my own personal experience. Let me know if you guys want any other videos like this or any suggestions of any other videos, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. See ya!